Hello, everybody. Today is Wednesday. It is April 22nd. Go ahead and open up the document for today. This is U5C7 Coping Toolkit. So make sure you have your Google Doc open. We're going to start with the do now, and I'm going to read it out loud. You can read my example, and then you're going to answer yourself on your Google document. So, we all know this, life is hard. When we feel stressed, anxious, or depressed, we all have different ways of coping or making ourselves feel better. So on your do now, write down what is one thing you like to do that makes you feel better. Is it a positive coping mechanism or a negative coping mechanism? And we're going to review what those words mean. But first, my example is that when I feel really anxious or stressed out about work or relationships, I like to listen to music in my bed, and I also like to light candles in my room to make it smell nice. This is a positive coping mechanism because it makes me feel better, and it's not damaging to myself, others, or my goals, my future goals. So pause this video and take a second to answer the do now question. Okay, so I want to remind you guys the learning target is that we will be able to explain the reasons that individuals may use drugs to cope and create a positive coping toolkit for our own use. So coping, this is a review. So on your paper, while we are reviewing this, you're going to fill in an example of a positive coping mechanism and a negative coping mechanism. So coping, we all do it all of the time, even if you don't realize it. So positive coping mechanisms are strategies that help you restore your emotional balance. They make you feel better about yourself. They're respectful to you and property and to others, and they help the problem and they help you achieve your goals. So here are some examples that I came up with. One is deep breathing. That's something I like to do. Going and playing sports with your friends or by yourself. Here's listening to music. Here's drawing or FaceTiming a friend. So these are all things that could help you feel better. And these might not be positive for everybody, right? But these are examples of some that could be positive. So they help you feel better and they help the problem and still help you achieve your goals. Some negative coping mechanisms, these are things that might not restore emotional balance. They might be harmful to yourself, others, or property. They might not solve the problem long term, and they might create additional problems for you. Like they might not help you achieve your goals. So here's some examples. One that I see a lot is ditching school. So sometimes when you feel stressed about school, or if you're like, oh, this is so overwhelming, I have an F, I don't know what to do, I feel so stressed and anxious, a coping mechanism that some students use is, oh, okay, I'm just not going to go to school, I'll ditch. Okay, but did that make the problem better? You might feel better in the moment, right? Like you're like, oh, sweet, I'm out of school. But now you have this additional problem of like, now I got to make more work up, and my grade just went down. So it's a negative coping mechanism. It might help in the moment, but like it doesn't help you forever. Another one that I participate in frequently, yes, we all use negative coping mechanisms sometimes, is online shopping. And this, again, this could be positive for someone else, but it's negative for me because I go online shop when I feel stressed out and I spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And now I might feel a little bit better, but now I just spent all this money. So I've just made another problem for myself. And then again, another really common negative coping mechanism is drug use. So smoking weed, using a Juul or a nicotine, electronic pen, these are things that might make people feel better in the moment, right? Like in the moment, oh, it's so relaxing to smoke the Juul, but long term or tomorrow, there might be health problems. Or like now I'm developing like this habit that is expensive and not great for my brain. So go ahead and take some time, fill in examples on your paper. Okay, so you might be thinking like, okay, but like, why does it matter if I have good coping mechanisms? And it's important, especially when you're a teenager, to develop good, healthy, positive coping mechanisms because during the teenage years, your brain is forming tons of new connections. Here's a picture of brain development, and the red means bunch of new connections are forming. So the brain is growing a lot. So age 5, the brain's growing a ton. And adolescence, your brain is still growing a ton. Even until age 20, look, you still got red and yellow and green, and parts of the brain are still growing. So it's important that we find coping mechanisms that help our brain form good connections, and we don't develop dependence on bad habits or certain drugs. So here's like in a picture of the brain, right? So if I'm young and I am stressed out and I start using drugs, which happens, right? We're all human. My brain might start forming connections that tell me, ooh, this drug helps me feel better. But now what happens is at age 20, I now have to spend money on drugs, and I might not have formed connections like this that help me cope in other ways, right? And now I only know how to cope with drugs or alcohol, and that's expensive. It's damaging to health. And so it's important to know other ways that make you feel better. We're all human, and I know that at some point, everybody is going to try drugs or alcohol, but it's important to also have other ways of feeling better. So that brings us to our assignment today. Today, there's 2 parts to your assignment. Part 1 is scenarios. So I'm going to read through this example. It's also on your paper. And for each scenario, you're going to identify what are this person's goals, what feelings are they having, and how do they cope with their feelings? Is it positive or is it negative? So here's the example. I'm going to read it out loud, and it's also on your paper, so read along with me. Alicia hates math. She doesn't like her teacher. She's always confused and stressed out. She's upset that she has an S and wants to raise her grade up before high school. To feel better, she ditches school with her friends at lunch and smokes a joint. As a result, her teacher calls home and tells her parents. So, what are this person's goals? So Alicia's goals are that she wants to get her grade up in math, right? That's one of her goals before high school. What feelings is she having? So her feelings are she's stressed and she doesn't like her math teacher. How does she cope with these feelings? So Alicia copes in this moment by ditching school and smoking with her friends. This is a negative coping mechanism because while it helps her feel better in the moment, like then she got her parents called, which really is not good, right? So now she's created more problems for herself. So not only is smoking really not great for the brain, but by doing this and ditching school, she now got her parents called, and now there's more problems to deal with. So you're going to read through the next 3 scenarios on your own and identify what are the people's goals, what feelings are they having, and then how do they cope with these feelings, and does coping with their feelings help support their goals? Does it help them? You can pause this video right now and complete part 1. Okay, part 2. It's time to do a little art or do a little writing if you would like. So for part 2, you're going to create your own coping toolkit. So I've posted a lot of examples attached to this Google Classroom assignment, but here's our pictures of a couple. So you have an option today. You can draw or write. You can do it on a separate sheet of paper like I did or on a Google Doc, and you can make a list or draw 5 positive coping mechanisms that work for you. So for ideas, you can check out mine. You could check out the examples on Google Classroom, but this is about picking things that work for you. My drawings are pretty terrible, but I like the drawings because it gives me a reminder of what makes me feel better. So take your time. You only have to do 5 coping mechanisms on your toolkit. You can do more if you want, but after you're done drawing or writing, make sure you share the assignment with me by taking a picture or sharing it on Google Classroom. Remember, always reach out if you have questions. That's it for this time. I will see you all later today in office hours. Bye-bye.